Okay, thank all of you for coming. Thank you very, very much for turning up for this press conference on short notice. Issues were raised about the conduct of the Elections and Boundaries Commission during the nomination process for the 2023 local government election. Our significant partners in this election, the United Farmers Alliance, have raised serious concerns, and we also have some concerns with regards to how nomination process is handled. And I would first like to turn you over to get Ms. Devika Thomas, the political leader of the Reunited Farmers Alliance.
Good morning to the media. Good morning to everyone else present. Today's press conference is to inform the media and also to inform the public of Trinidad and Tobago of the United Farmers and the Progressive Empowerment Party position going forward regarding nomination day 26th of June. We, the United Farmers, wish to bring to the public's attention certain developments in relation to the fairness of the electoral process and nominations in the ongoing local government elections. Free and fair elections are the bedrock of any democracy. No country can claim to be a modern democratic state if its elections are tainted by prejudice, bias, and unfairness. Last week, prior to nomination day, our candidates in certain electoral districts were approved by respective returning officers prior to nomination day. All forms were duly filled out, presented, and screened, vetted by these returning officers. However, what occurred on nomination day was not only an injustice to our party, but a devastating blow to our democracy. When our candidates in certain constituencies presented themselves for nominations, the returning officers informed them that they did not have our party's symbol, and therefore they could not have registered as a candidate, but were allowed independent symbol if they so wish. Las Lomas, San Rafael, Cunupia, they had real issues, the borough of Siparia, the electoral districts of Otahiti, Rosila, and Brighton, Bessini. Another two candidates were not allowed to register despite being inside of the doorway before 3 p.m. There were scratches on their form that needs to be initialed and signed off by the JP. The JP who was on the compound was not allowed to stamp these forms. This was clearly mischievous position adopted by the EBC. Our party's symbol was duly registered and even gazetted by the EBC itself. This is the document of our symbol and an email published in the Gazetted 15 November 2022. I ask any right-thinking and democracy-loving citizen, how could the EBC, having approved our symbol and gazetted same, inform our candidates in only some constituencies that they did not have our party's symbol? Yet in other constituencies, the presiding of electoral officers accepted our candidates' nominations because they were in possession of our symbol. Notably, the election rules make specific provision that it is the EBC that must provide a party symbol to the different returning officers. In those circumstances, we have retained lawyers are in the process of approaching senior counsel to file an election petition to challenge the EBC's conduct in relation to our party. We will seek justice not only on behalf of our candidates, but on behalf of our people of this country. I thank you.
I'd like to add to what Devika said by raising a gross injustice that took place with one of our AREMA candidates. Now, if you're not the PNM or you're not the UNC, you will accept these injustices as normal, as par for the course of how life is in Trinidad. If you have to get a passport or an ID card or anything from any office of state in this country, you would accept that failure is the norm, that nothing works in Trinidad and Tobago. But we've decided it's time to start challenging all of these things, especially as the Privy Council has demonstrated a willingness to instruct the government of Trinidad and Tobago that in a democracy, election is paramount. We had a candidate from AREMA who was sent back to get documents signed and stamped by a justice of the peace, who got back to the office 2 minutes late. 2 minutes late. This is a country where the Elections and Boundaries Commission arbitrarily extended an election for rain to accommodate a political party. But to accommodate a challenger for that political party, 2 minutes is too much. There is madness where election management should be in the Elections and Boundaries Commission. The entire Elections and Boundaries Commission should be fired and replaced with something functional. Why is there only 1 day for nomination? You're trying to nominate 1,000 candidates. Why don't we have a nomination week, or at least 2 days, so that everybody who goes to get nominated on the principal day, if they have problems, could get it fixed and come back by the second day? Why does it appear that the Elections and Boundaries Commission is actually trying to prevent candidates from contesting an election in this democracy? Why do we have these deposits, the $2,000 for local and $5,000 for general? What purpose do they serve? My estimation, an election in this country can't cost $100,000. So why this artificial bar? Why make it so that only those with access to wealthy financiers could contest an election? If you're putting up 141 candidates at election time for a local government election, you have to find $2,000 for each of them. That's over $250,000. What is the message? That democracy in Trinidad and Tobago is for the rich and the connected. The entire system of government in Trinidad and Tobago needs a massive constitutional overhaul. But the way we get governments elected also, that creates artificial and arbitrary obstacles to challenging for election, all of this needs to be vacated and redone. We, in this alliance, the Progressive Empowerment Party and the Reunited Farmers Alliance, pledge that if you give us the opportunity to fix things in this country, we will make taking part in an election as easy as waking up election morning, going to a nomination station with your ID card and saying, I would like to be a candidate. And that's all it would take. That's all it should take. The rest of it is PNM, UNC nonsense. Because both of them have had government. The UNC has had a special majority in Trinidad and Tobago, as did the NAR. So both of them, if they wanted to fix it, could have fixed it. It don't take 5 years to fix it. We done it in a day. As we saw with Section 34, when they needed to repeal it, it took a couple hours. So what are we telling the people of Trinidad and Tobago? That government is the rich and the connected and the PNM and the UNC? We are appealing to the people of Trinidad and Tobago to make it your duty on August 14th. We have 61 candidates between us. Give those candidates victory. Send a message to the power brokers and the PNM and the UNC that we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, are no longer settling for the way things run in this country. That we want a better Trinidad and Tobago. On August 14th, on your ballot paper, if there is no PEP or Reunited Farmers Alliance candidate, spoil your ballot so that they know, do not vote if it is not the Progressive Empowerment Party or the Reunited Farmers Alliance if you want to send that message. Thank you. Yes, we are.
I couldn't pass I don't know if it's just a general election or not, but there's like a practice, a run, I don't think general election candidate.
They do it for local as well. There is a dry run, but you would also know between the dry run and nomination day, people are still screening because we do not have fixed election dates. The party in power has an unfair advantage. They know the date before they announce the dates to us. Before the Prime Minister goes to tell the President to read the writ of election, he and his team, he and his financiers are ordering shirts with logos, pre-screening candidates, organizing money through the bank. I didn't see a single PNM person fighting up in the bank like Felicia Holder and her team that have to go to multiples of First Citizen banks because they couldn't handle 50 checks. The entire system is set up to create deliberate confusion, if not to fail you. The PNM knew the date of the election and they were well organized. The rest of us, all right up to nomination day, we were still screening and putting candidates in place. So those people didn't get a dry run. The dry run should happen on nomination day twice, 2 days. There was a dry run day immediately followed by nomination day. That makes sense.
Viveka said something about the EBC being in possession of the logo, and therefore, why does the returning officer need to have it?
I'm going to give it, I'm going to put you on the debit now, but I want to tell you something. Yeah. Another thing that we observed, you see, this is EBC. This is what you sue for. This is what you go to court for. Because every single returning officer had their own rules. There is no guidebook. There is nothing that you could tell a returning officer, please refer to chapter 12, subsection 6C to see that we are correct. There's nothing like that. It is do where you like land on nomination day. These people had their symbols duly gazetted. That's the rule. Why would certain returning officers challenge them on that? Why would they even have the authority to do that?
But what is the law, though? Because I know there's this RPA registration with people, but Viveka hinted at it, saying, I mean, there's a kind of logic, there's a kind of thing called natural justice, whereby if the EBC has sent you an email saying we approve your logo, then why should it now be up to you to have to supply the EBC's agent with that same gazette, which was the source of the EBC's email to you in the first place? But can anybody clarify what the law is on that? But Viveka hinted it.
We were hoping to have the lawyers present. I think they caught up any traffic. I believe a garbage truck turned over and a car hit the garbage truck. As usual in Trinidad and Tobago, one pipe bust, nobody have water. One garbage truck fall down, the whole country in a gridlock. So we don't have that actual law right now, but this is in the hands of lawyers. This is a pre-action protocol letter that is going to the Elections and Boundaries Commission. It's gone already, it's going. It's gone already. This is a pre-action protocol letter. We are taking the Elections and Boundaries Commission before the court. This is a legal complaint. Now, the problem with Trinidad and our slow wheels of justice is that we will have an election that happens long before the season like today. In a real country, you could get an injunction, stop the election. In a real country, the courts would vacate the process and send everybody back to nomination. In a real country that is focused on having a democracy, they would not allow anybody to be so unduly disadvantaged. What we in the Progressive Empowerment Party did was send our team managers to all the returning officers with multiples of documents. Because we've been through this process before, we've known that they will find the smallest and silliest problem, so we over-engineer. And we sent this and we sent that, and we have lawyers and we have justice of the peace, and still it wasn't enough. Still it's not enough to fight this PNM-centric EBC machinery. And no matter what is said, because I want to say that Fern Narcisco did a very good job of trying to appear that she was being helpful. But the system is crap. The system does not work. It works for you if you have advanced knowledge. It works for you if you have bottomless pits of financier dollars and political speculators like the PNM and the UNC have. A bunch of financiers that give each of them $10 million each at a time, knowing that either one of them, if they get into office, will pay them back $100, $200 million. The Progressive Empowerment Party is a challenge to that contract mafia. We are a challenge to that system. We want the people of Trinidad and Tobago to know that it does not have to be this way, and we could fix it.
Yeah, this election petition, there's no thing that is any injunction.
It's no force of law. It's no force of law. It should have force of law. It should have, this should be a petition. This should be a petition that as it reaches before any authority of law in this country, it should call for an immediate stop of the election and an urgent hearing. That's what real countries do. Because every single political party that has an interest in contesting the election must be treated with respect, regardless of who is in the pockets of 100 billionaires and who are just representing the people as activists. You need to give every political aspirant a level playing field if this is a true democracy.
Adding to what Philip has just said, there's a 7-day timeline on this petition for a response from the people.
So we've attached a sense of urgency to it. They have 7 days to respond. Failing that, our attorneys, as Rebecca said, we have senior counsels looking at the law, and if there is any opportunity, because I mean it's a mockery and it's a joke to the government. They will laugh at this. They won't take this seriously because it's not an impediment to them, but it's an impediment to justice. It's an impediment to democracy. It is an actual, it flies in the face of the idea of Trinidad being a republic ruled by law if the law makes no sense. Those things need to fix.
I was going to say otherwise, I don't know if there's any more questions on the issue, but I was going to say if otherwise, how are things looking? But, I mean,
support on the ground is fantastic. People are no longer hiding their support or afraid of victimization. There are people who are hanging PEP and Farmers Reunited flags on their houses, banners on their fences. I mean, same thing again, everybody hearing my voice. We need finance and support. We just spent $100,000 in brochures and flyers. We just spent $100,000 in banners. All the banners we got immediately as we got them, they all went out and they're calling for more. There is a political sexiness to this alliance. People see the Progressive Empowerment Party and the Farmers Reunited Alliance as David versus Goliath. We are the only real voice of the people. We are the only real challenge to the contract mafia. And people, especially the farmers in this country and the former county workers who have been gagged, who have lost their voice, lost their incomes, lost their livelihoods. Some have lost their lives. Those farmers feel finally vindicated. Rebecca Thomas and the Farmers Reunited Alliance, the work that they did, gave them a feeling of hope. And the alliance with the Progressive Empowerment Party gives them courage that now something could happen, change could come, and they could get the life that they. We're just like Master Class.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, to recap, the genesis of your group would be the county workers who didn't get.
County workers who were denied their land, the visa packages were apparently closed down in 2003. It's been 20 years and they have not received that visa package despite a High Court order from Justice Yelsing in 2007. And in addition to that, we started off with the food crop farmers. There's two separate groups, food crop farmers and the ex-county workers.
In this alliance, Rebecca is the honey. I am the vinegar. See how sweet she said that? I want to tell you, the state of Trinidad and Tobago is in contempt of court. The Prime Minister should be sitting down in a jail cell today because the farmers did not get their visa. Over 20 years have passed. When the state signs a document guaranteeing you this in exchange for voluntary separation from your work or your employment, that cannot be something that the state could then turn around and make a lie. You should not have to fight for it. You should not need lawyers. You should not be marching in the sun and the rain. The state makes a promise. That promise has to be kept. Because if that doesn't work, banking in Trinidad will fall apart. Banking in Trinidad, the economy is upheld by a bond and a promise of the state. Read every dollar in your pocket. It is legal tender as long as the state keeps its promise. The visa that these poor farmers and county workers did not have honored is the same as the government crashing the economy today. There's no difference. So, to add anything?
So just circle back to the EBC issue because it's my third election that I have contested and I can attest personally to the flawed system that exists in the EBC, and I know personally, and I know for our research officer, our person in charge of the campaign, Ian Griffith, they spent days, hours on end on the phone back and forth with the EBC because rules seem to be different with each returning officer. The fact that there is no proper system that each returning officer can refer to obviously points to how flawed and undemocratic the system is. What you can get away with one, you can't get away with the other. The fact that Fleur Nassiscombe had to be on the phone for so many hours solving issues that returning officers should be able to refer to in a manual, clearly the system needs a complete
Exactly.
overhaul.
It's not like every time we do an election is the first time we do an election. We've been doing this since 1956. Absolutely. Thank all of you for coming and to circle back and bring it to a close from my end. As I just said, this shouldn't be a surprise. The Elections and Boundaries Commission pretty much has one job. You are fully staffed and fully paid and wait 4 years and 5 years and 6 years to call an election. Use that time to put everything in place. But we want to challenge the way the system is run. We want the people of Trinidad and Tobago to know that there are no more sacred cows and holy grails. We are going to challenge everything about this banana republic. Trinidad and Tobago is a failed nation designed that way. We want to fix it.
The people of Trinidad and Tobago continues to be injustice. The United Farmers Alliance, together with the PEP, we formed an alliance and we will continue to fight on behalf of these people.
Thank you.